Hi, and welcome to the Excel module on using Excel to create simple formulas. The workbook you can open to use in this training module is the one called Simple Formulas, and we're simply working on the first worksheet. If you have a look, there's some very simple formulas that we can use to calculate some basic things in Excel. However, let's first go through and have a look exactly where to find the functions to be able to do this. So over here we have a list, and we would like to sum that list. We'd like to add it all up together. You can start by typing out a function, or the easiest way to create a simple formula in Excel is to use our Auto button. On the Home tab, you will find in the very last group called Editing, there is a button called Auto Sum. From here, you can select exactly which function you want to use, but be sure to be clicked in the cell where you want the result so that it can automatically detect which range of data you would like to add. So in this case, we're going to choose the sum function. You'll see automatically Excel will select the data for you, and then you can simply press enter. Now we can do the same thing with average. We'd like to average this data. We go back to our auto sum, and we select average. You can also do the same thing by actually typing in the function equals average, but this is just the beginning of creating simple formulas, and this is the easiest way to do it. The next thing we want to do is count the numbers in the specific column. So we'll go to our auto sum and use our count numbers function. Do the same with max, which will tell us the maximum in that column, and min, which will tell us the minimum in that particular column of data. Keep in mind, if this function over here is something that you use regularly, you can at any stage right-click on the command that you use a lot and click on the Add to Quick Access toolbar option. Now you will notice that your auto sum is always there available for you to use. The next thing we're going to have a look at doing is creating a basic formula in Excel. Now there are a difference between formulas and functions. A function is a set of formulas that are predefined and pre-named in Excel, such as sum, average, count, max, min, VLOOKUP, date. A formula is something that you create and tell Excel what to do. Ideally, you want to be able to use as many Excel functions as you can, and then as a last resort, create your own formulas. Over here we have a list of all unit prices, and we want to increase all the prices in column H by cell J2 a 5% increase. So to create a formula to do this, we're going to do as follows. Equals, we're going to click on cell G2. To multiply, you use the asterisk, and then you're going to click on the 5%. But that'll give you only 5% of the 42 value. So once you've done that, you need to then add the original value of 42. And that should give you your new price increase based on a 5% increase. When it's time to copy functions and formulas down, you will notice that if the data is already here, you can simply drag it, which is very easy in this situation. We can just drag it all the way down. Or alternatively, what's very nice is if you click on the corner of the box and your mouse turns into a little cross, you can just double click. It'll automatically add all the data for you. But now there's going to be a problem with this formula. Let's see what the problem is. It doesn't appear to have done anything wrong, but if you notice, the unit price of 39 cannot remain 39 if there was a 5% increase. And when you are copying formulas and functions in Excel, remember the cells that you are selecting remain relative as you copy them down. So for example, here it will say G2 in the formula bar multiplied by J2 plus G2. When you go down, it will relatively change to G3, which is correct, but now it's multiplying by J3, and there's nothing in J3 to multiply by. So when you're in a situation where you want to lock certain cells, so when you copy them down they remain fixed, we use what is called an absolute reference. So I'm just going to delete this data quickly, and let's start the function again. Equal to G242 multiplied by the 5%. As you click on that cell that you want to lock, push F4 on your keyboard. This will now lock the cell. You will notice in the formula reference bar there's now a dollar in front of the column name, which is J, and in front of the row name, which is 2. This cell is now locked. Now we can add our original unit price of 42 and hit enter. Now all the other cells will change relatively, which is what we want, but our increase cell, you will notice, remains exactly the same throughout. To quickly go through some basic mathematical formula rules, the first thing you need to know is to multiply in Excel, and I'll just put a reference here for you. You need to use the asterisk. To divide in Excel, you use your slash. Let me just quickly type that in there. To add in Excel is very easy. You use your plus. And then to subtract in Excel, let me just spell that correctly. Subtract in Excel, you use your hyphen or negative sign. And those are the basics when creating formulas yourself, keeping in mind the rules of BODMAS and parenthesis in terms of brackets need to be used if you want those parts of your formulas to go first. Now, apart from these basic functions in Excel, you may want to start looking at other groups of functions. And just to give you an idea of where they are and how you can find them, is in the Formulas menu, you will see a group called Function Library. You'll have a recently used functions, which are the ones that you use regularly, so this list will update as and when you are using Excel. You've got the Financial group, and these are all things related to interests, payments, payment duration periods, anything related to finance you will find in here. To find out what a particular function does, you can just hover over it with your mouse, and it'll tell you, for example, PMT calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. Then you've got your logical functions, which is quite a small but very useful group of functions that we discuss in another training module. And these are things like your if function, which is the most popular, as well as and, false, or, if error, etc. Then you've got your text group, which is everything related to manipulating text in Excel. Although you might not think that this is very popular, as most of the time we deal with numbers, you'll see in our text training module that there's a lot of functions that prove to be very valuable in this group. You've got your date and time group. Dates and times work with everything to do with periods between projects, number of days, number of weeks, which number in the week relates to that particular period. Everything to do with dates and times you'll find in this group. Lookup and reference functions. This is where you are looking up data from a separate reference table. And the most common in this one is your VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP function. Your math and trig function is also quite extensive, but strangely we don't use too many of these. We do have a maths function training module that goes through the most popular. Obviously the most popular being sum. And under your more functions, you've got your statistical group, which is the easiest of all the functions in Excel and a lot of them that are widely used. Engineering, which is not very common. We go through a couple of them in the training. We've got cube functions, which you'll only use if you use online databases. Information functions, which give us information about specific cells. Compatibility functions, and then the new one which is called web functions. So if you can narrow down the kind of group you're looking for, then you can start going through to find the function that you want. So for example, if you're trying to work out the payment on a loan, you would know to look in the financial group. If you've got a list of employee names that you would like to change to uppercase, because you want to manipulate text, you would look in the text group. If you've got a project that you know is going to take you 300 working days to finish and you've got a start date, you can calculate the end date by looking in the date and time group.